I finally got some time with Orleatha. She has had one of the funniest Shark Tank pitches. I would love to know what that. In early stages of her career, was a biology teacher. Sounds like a Netflix documentary to me.
Of course, of course. Netflix, hey, hit me up. I'll totally do it.
How did you end up here?
The coffee alternative market is $2.2 billion and overlooked. So everybody's either coffee or tea, but nobody ever considers a coffee alternative. And then my therapist was like, yeah, you probably need to give up coffee. So I went to look for an alternative, but everything had caffeine or adaptogens or gluten or some other natural flavor. And I put that in air quotes. I made something that was just coffee. I don't want all that other stuff. I want a basic, right? Like, give me a basic coffee. That's what I wanted. So I made it, and here we are. So if you're not carrying the toxic load and your gut is working better and you have these antioxidants, you just feel better. And so you don't need the caffeine to be up and then crash. Well, I think a lot of people who go on Shark Tank or who apply for Shark Tank think, okay, if I didn't get this time, I guess that's just not for me. We applied 4 times. This was our 4th time. They called us back in the summer, and then they called us back to record in the fall. So I recorded in the fall of 2023. And then after you record, you can't say anything. You can't talk about it. You can't tell anybody that you recorded. And then when they do say, hey, yes, we're going to air your episode, you have 3 weeks to prepare.
Hello, everyone. So today is a very special day for me. I finally got some time with Orleatha, who is famous in her own right. She has pitched in every possible conceivable place, and not just pitched, but won, I think, all of them practically at this point, including the big one, Shark Tank, and a lot of other ones as well. She's a master herbalist. And according to a LinkedIn profile, she has had one of the funniest Shark Tank pitches. I would love to know what that entailed, as well as we continue our conversation. And I'm very, very proud to have known her. And she also, in early stages of her career, was a biology teacher herself. So quite a ride. Sounds like a Netflix documentary to me in a few years. So, Orleatha, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course, of course. Netflix, hey, hit me up. I'll totally do it.
Enough, more than enough footage already of you online to to make a
I could
document.
probably just string it together and they'd be fine.
Marlita, so yeah, you've your latest venture, one amongst many, is Sip Herbals, coffee alternative. How did you come up with this idea? I mean, F&B space is brutal, especially when when it comes to e-commerce, even retail. It's competitive. It's filled with ankle biters. It's filled with massive corporations investing billions into getting into every crevice possible. How did you end up here?
The coffee alternative market is $2.2 billion and overlooked, and nobody pays attention to it. So everybody's either coffee or tea, but nobody ever considers a coffee alternative. And so there are a few out there who are like, hey, this is kind of a nice empty space. And I'm like, yep, I'm here. So that's kind of where we were like, during the pandemic, everybody was dealing with anxiety, but mine sort of really got crazy wild. And my therapist was like, actually, my business partner first, Kelly, because we've been working together for 10 years. So she knows me. And she's like, probably need to give up coffee. And I was like, there is no way I'm giving up coffee. No
Mm.
way. And then my therapist was like, yeah, you probably need to give up coffee. Just, so I went to look for an alternative because, like I said, the industry is pretty big and there are some players out there, but everything had caffeine or adaptogens or gluten or some other natural flavor, and I put that in air quotes,
Mhm.
that I didn't want. So I made something that was just coffee. I don't want all that other stuff. I want a basic, right? Like, give me a basic coffee. Let me build my own drink. I don't want that stuff. And then when I wanted a flavor, I didn't want natural flavors in air quotes. I wanted something that if it says maple, it actually has maple in it. I know that's a stretch, but that's what I wanted. So
Mhm.
I made it, and here we are.
Nice. And what was the process like? Obviously, uh, thanks to the pandemic, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone has a pain point that to address. You obviously have come a long way. So, how was that product development process like? Did you have any experience? in this particular field.
No.
Yeah, well, then how did
No, I
you
mean,
do it?
I'm a former biology teacher. And Kelly and I had been working together on another, we exited a SaaS together that was in the wellness space.
Oh.
And so we did that in 2019. So 2020, we were trying to like go, okay, what are we going to do now? And then the whole anxiety thing hit. And so I was like, well, I know some herbs because my family has roots in Louisiana. And I know that I've been there a couple times. And so to New Orleans, and I've had chicory coffee. And so I was like, oh, I know chicory will work.
Mhm.
And from my background as an herbalist, I knew dandelion would work as a bitterness to add that bitterness component without acid. Didn't want acid.
Mhm.
And then I knew carob has the like mouthfeel, like that chocolate after note of coffee. I used to love coffee. Like I used to love it so much. Like grind my beans, give me
Mhm.
my French press, give me my moment with coffee. It was an entire ritual. So I wanted that again. I didn't want just give me something to drink. So I recreated that using these herbs. And then I also didn't want that crash that caffeine gives you, where you're up and then you're down, and then like you have to have coffee again to get up again. I
Mm.
wanted something that would nourish my body. So, like chicory is prebiotic, it feeds your gut, and dandelion has been studied forever to nourish your liver and sort of support your liver, which is our natural detox organ. So, if you're not carrying the toxic load and your gut is working better and you have these antioxidants, you just feel better.
Mhm.
And so you don't need the caffeine to be up and then crash. So you
Mm.
just have a sort of a steady energy and you just feel better. And so that's what I wanted. And that's kind of why I picked all of those herbs.
Got it. What were some of the early challenges that you faced? Uh,
The
uh,
ones that are still happening, those.
exactly.
I mean, money is always a challenge, right? Especially in the CPG world where you have to front everything up front to make all the things and then, sell your widgets and then get your money back. And then guess what? It's time to make some more. So you get to put the money back up. And so it's sort of a big, lovely cycle.
Mhm.
And so when we started with a Kickstarter of $7,000.
Not bad.
So we took that $7,000 and we got in the mud and tried to pull things out. And that's how we've grown to, we're on track to do 500,000 this year.
Mm.
And so we've done that organically. And so the struggles have been and will always be finances. And being a person of color, knowing that most of the VC dollars are going to people who look the exact opposite of you, like exact opposite.
Mhm.
That's kind of where we have to get creative and go, okay, how are we going to do this? Because it's not going to come from VC dollars. It's not going to come from where most people who don't look like me can just go, oh, I'm going to do $1 million. I had somebody tell me that. Just do $1 million. We did $1 million friends and family.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't have those friends or
Where are those
family.
friends and family?
I'm like, okay, can you be my friend? Because that's not how it works in my friends or families.
That is true.
So yeah.
Yeah. I get asked all the time, hey, we raised 1.5 million through friends and family. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
Right.
what kind of friends?
Can I be in your family? I mean, I'm adoptable.
Yeah. So given that, and given I'm sure 7,000 would have blown through pretty quickly, how did you navigate the next phase of your growth journey?
Well, we did it. So we did it by working with influencers since we had roots in the wellness space. We just started going, hey, friend who has grown up with us in this industry who is now an influencer, can we use your audience real quick? We'll give them back, but can we borrow them?
Mm.
And so we use their audiences via giveaways and email lists and all of the things. If they had a product, we did a collab. If they had a blog, we did a guest blog post or we had them post for us. If they were a recipe developer, we asked them to develop a recipe with our ingredients.
Mm.
So we just sort of attacked it from a bunch of different angles. And then we created an affiliate program that was better than Amazon's and started saying, hey, if you promote it through us and not Amazon, then we'll give you more money. And so that's kind of what we did. And they were like, oh, okay, we can definitely do that. And so we took that 7,000. We already had roots as a SaaS. So we used that to develop the website.
Mm.
And we knew that. knew some of the things that we should be doing. So we did those things based on our past experiences and sort of just grew. And then after Shark Tank, of course, that was a nice big blast of new folks. But that was the first time we started running ads. We'd never run ads before that because we couldn't afford it. You know, you gotta have to spend money for the algorithm to learn what you need, and so kind of couldn't.
Nice. Let's talk about Shark Tank. What was the experience like? Some behind the scenes stuff that you not know about. Let's have it.
Well, I think a lot of people who go on Shark Tank or who apply for Shark Tank think, okay, if I didn't get this time, I guess that's just not for me. We applied 4 times. This was our fourth time.
Mm,
Yeah. And so we applied with our old company before we exited that one. And then we applied twice with this, with Sip Herbals. And so we applied in March when they came to LA. And I was like, I'm going to go. I don't have to, I can just drive out to the desert and apply.
mhm,
So I did that. And then they called us back in the summer. And
mhm,
then they called us back to record in the fall. So I recorded in the fall of 2023.
mhm,
And then after you record, you can't say anything. You can't talk about it. You can't tell anybody that you recorded because they don't have to air your episode. Like it's not guaranteed.
yeah.
So you just don't talk about it, can't talk about it. And
Mhm,
then when they do say, hey, yes, we're going to air your episode, you have 3 weeks to prepare. So you
mhm,
don't have a lot of time to prepare.
mhm,
And for a product based company that is like, hair is on fire now, let's run around
yeah.
because now we have to get all this product. Because we are assuming, we don't know, nothing's guaranteed that we're going to get orders. We don't know how many, but
Mhm,
we know we're going to get more than we had last May.
mhm,
so, so we ran around preparing and then we aired and it was a nice bump in sales. And since then, we've also seen a nice bump because summer is low season for us. So airing in May was like perfect timing because then it carried us through May, June, and July. And
mhm.
here we are back again in pumpkin spice season, you know. So yes, it was a great experience. The people were really great. Everybody was great. Like everybody was great. The feedback was amazing. So it was just good.
Nice. And it may not seem obvious to people who follow you, but you do have a co-founder who works mostly behind
I
the scenes.
do.
Uh, from
Yeah, Kelly's great.
how does the relationship work in terms of running a business like this?
Oh, it's fantastic. So it's funny because when the pandemic hit, everybody worked from home, right? But Kelly and I had been working together for a decade from home in different states.
Oh.
We work in completely, she works in Oregon. She lives and works in Oregon. I live and work in LA.
Mm, mm,
And yeah, so most people are like, how the heck do you guys do that? And it's because we communicate. And I'm a big proponent for dispersed workplaces. Like it does not have to, or workforces, you don't have to all be in one office looking at each other. Probably a good 80% of the jobs that are done can be done from anywhere. If
mm,
you are, like obviously if you're packing orders, you can't pack orders from two different places. But if you are working on a spreadsheet, if you're talking out, ideas, if you're hashing through numbers or whatever, you can do that together with all of the technology we have these days. You can do that together at the same time, working on the same spreadsheet together. Right? So we've done a really amazing job of making sure that our workforce is distributed. Everyone that works for us works from home in different parts of the country and world. And
mm,
so it's like we've done an amazing job of creating a culture that makes you feel like you're still included, even though you're at home, um, or wherever you are. For
mhm,
us, we don't micromanage. It's like, this is your job.
mm.
Please just do it and have a good, like, just if you give us a report or if we ask you a question and you answer it, great. But I don't want to have to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you doing? How's that going? What's going on over there? If I come run into a problem, like if I'm like, hey, I went to go do this thing that you said I could do and I can't do it, I'm going to drop you an email. And then you get back to me and say, oh, I fixed it. Okay, great. Let's go do it. Like it really should be that simple.
Wow, that's yeah, sounds like a dream.
it's it's work, but what's not work? And why should work be the center of your life? It really shouldn't. It really
Speaking
shouldn't.
of segueing into being a woman of color, being part of this fantastic startup that people obviously like, a lot of media presence, earned media especially. How has that impacted, if at all, your personal life? And what do you think about people, other entrepreneurs as well, when they obviously have a lot of work that goes behind building something from scratch, but at the same time, you also have a family life as well. So how do you view that balance that comes about?
I have a calendar that is color coded,
There you go.
and my family gets a certain color, and my work gets a different color. And my family goes in first, and they are big rocks.
Okay.
And if you have studied Covey at all, I don't know if you have, but I study Covey a lot. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and he talks about big rocks, things that are immovable,
Yep.
things that go in first, and
Yep.
everything else fits around them. And
Mhm.
so my family is a big rock. My children, I've homeschooled my kids for the last 13 years, and so they come first. If something has to happen and they were there first, then something has to get around them, has to move around them. So, for instance, my son is in pilot school. My daughter she's at the junior college now.
Mhm.
And so when he has a flight lesson and she has school and I have a meeting, the meeting has to go around them. I'm the owner of the company. So I get to make those choices. It's not like, oh, I got to do it because my boss is going to be mad at me. It's more like, no, I got to, my bosses is my family, my husband, my kids. That's it. Everything else can come after them.
That is beautiful. I think, and that is a great book as well, Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. And yeah, it's great that how to get a view of how a real world implementation of that looks like as well. That's pretty amazing.
I think that the society has told us that we are only as good as our work. Our worth is our work, and they're synonymous, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
We are worthy because we exist. We are not worthy because we put more work in and do more things and earn more money. It's like, no, you're worthy of having a great life just because you're here. You can rest, you can have a good time, you can have fun, you can laugh, you can have joy. You don't have to grind and like work yourself into an oblivion just so that you can rest. That sounds like hell. And I don't ever want to. I did that before. I'm not speaking from a place of never done that before. I did that before, and no, thank you. I don't want anyone that works for me to do that. I don't want to. I don't want that. I want a place where people can come, do your job, and go home. Like you don't have to. Like you don't even have to come. Just do your work and do whatever you do. Whatever else, you know. And if your work fits around it, fantastic. Just get it done. Right? Like that's it.
I think more people need to inculcate that, especially founders who there is a perception, especially in the media, in the movies,
Oh,
where you hustle, you
yeah,
grind
yeah,
toward the line between right and wrong, and then you
yeah.
success, you buy your mansion and the Lamborghini, and that is when you know you have achieved something.
And you're so exhausted you can't even enjoy it, right? Like there are literal there are VCs.
Mhm.
There's VCs and funds out there with hustle in the name, like hustle, hustle, go
Mhm.
hard. And I'm like, ugh, that sounds disgusting. Like that sounds awful. I don't want to do that. Are there times that I have to work? Yes. Like there are just times that you are going to have to work hard. But that is the universe. The universal law is energy, right? Like you have to put energy in and energy comes out.
Mhm.
It does not mean that you have to work yourself to death. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that. Like that is not what that's not what I feel like I'm here for. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm here for a place of calm. And when it's time to work, we work and then we rest. I feel like rest is the reward for achieving a thing. And so you've done this. My achievement is that I did the things that I was supposed to do today. And now it's time to rest. Not because I'm exhausted and worn out and I can't do anything else. And now it's time I have to rest. No, that sounds awful. I refuse.
Wow.
I'm checking out of that. No thanks.
That is amazing for someone. And again, there is a perception that if you if you give more priority to your family or to yourself, then your chance of succeeding does not exist. Or
No.
Others will overtake you. Well, who
Right.
cares about others, right? It is your journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, who's going to do it if you're exhausted? Who can do it?
Hmm.
Like, you need to bring your best self to do the job. And the best self is a rested self, a self that's well taken care of, a self that's well fed, a self that's well loved. That's the best one that can do the best job, not the one that's wiped out, exhausted, can't spend time with their family, stressed out, you're worked all over the place. And
Hmm.
now you're going to go do this other thing.
Hmm.
No, no, you can do it tomorrow. But the deadline is now. Well, next time.
I think other founders definitely need to hear this and at least try it out for themselves. Um, s-
It's really hard to believe it, to believe that I
yes.
can rest. And I mean, it took, gosh, a lot of therapy for me to actually rest and a lot of trial for me to actually go, okay, I'm going to try. And I would say, if you're going to try it, start small. Like, literally take an hour out of your day,
Mhm.
15 minutes out of your day, put it on your calendar and put me, just 15 minutes. And that me time can be anything. You can be if you want to be on social media, I wouldn't recommend it. So if you want to be on social media for 15 minutes, go for it. I go sit in the fresh air, in the sun. I
Mm.
just go sit for 15 minutes and I meditate and I get myself together and I can come back. But
Wow.
you have to start somewhere. Put a big rock in your calendar for yourself.
Wow, that's pretty good advice for other founders.
I mean, it's 15 minutes. It's not going to make or break you, but it will make you. You'll see. You'll go, oh man, I didn't realize that I needed to just stop and breathe. Yeah, especially if you have little kids. Take the 15 minutes for yourself.
Speaking of helping others, so just for the listeners over here, we are fortunate to have worked closely or working closely with Sip Herbals on their e-commerce journey. And I'm a data person. I look at the data pretty closely. Here are a few things that have stood out to me when I looked at when we are looking at the e-commerce data. One, the amount of people who come back, repeat purchasers, is insane. Number one. Number two, we work with a lot of F&B products. The cost of customer acquisition for Sip Herbals is one of the lowest that I've ever seen on Amazon, on Google, everywhere. It is just crazy. Some of it could be attributed to the earned media through all the outreach that happened, but the other brands that I work with have that as well. And so I'm very curious to know if that is something you have seen, experienced along the way, and how has the work that you've put in towards building this product translated into what we are seeing right now.
Yeah, so we have always had a low CAC, always. It was even lower before. It's like $2 or $3,
Mhm.
because we have the roots in the wellness space. Also, though, we touch our customers a lot, and so that's where the repeat is coming from. And by touching them a lot, I mean, we email, we call, we write notes on their packages, and we say, I hope you enjoy this, whatever it is you're getting. We have special tape. We throw a little special sticker in there.
Hmm.
We're very high touch because,
Hmm.
again, we want SIP to be the place where you can rest, the place where you feel like
There
you
you
can
go.
have a seat and sit down, let
Hmm.
your shoulders drop for just a few minutes. I'm not saying do it all day, every day, although that would be great, but just a few minutes. And so we translate that into all of our activities. And one of our core values is fun.
Oh.
And so we like to have fun. Our packaging is fun. Our little sip dude is fun. We like to have fun in our emails, our messaging, we send you stickers. Like, we just like to have fun and relax. We want to be like your friend.
Mhm.
Like, if you feel like you've been worn out and you want someplace to sit down, we're going to be the ones in the cafeteria where, after the mean girls have been like, you can't sit here, we're the ones like, hey, come over here, come sit with us. Like, please, we are having a good time over here too. So come sit with us. So that is why you'll see our repeat customer high, our CAC is low, because we know our audience pretty well. Like, we are our audience. We talk to a lot of people who have autoimmune diseases, and
Mhm.
we have, both my founder and I have autoimmune diseases, can't have coffee. And so we can't, Kelly's husband can't even have coffee. So it's like, her mom can't have coffee. So it's like are very close to our customer. And so we kind of know a little bit more about what they're looking for. We know their voice a little bit more, and we're curious. I think a lot of times we stop being curious about people, about things, and like, I already know that. I'm going to move on. Like, no, you don't know. Ask questions. Ask all the questions
Mm.
and be curious. The science mind in me is very curious. It's always asking, well, why? Well, why? Why is that? How come? so, so if you ask why, and I think maybe you've heard this before. I think, oh, I learned it from Toyota, not the car company, but the actual owner,
Mm.
the one who created the Toyota car company. His name was Toyota with a D. And he said that you ask why 5 times, or at least continue to ask why. And so if you ask why once and somebody gives you an answer, then continue to ask why, and you will get to the root cause of the problem.
Mm.
Like whatever it is. If you're like, dude, why is this number high?
Mhm.
Oh, why? Oh, it's this, and this. Well, why is that? Well, why is that? Like, so it's kind of how we found out about our original formulation of SIP had powdered herbs. Some of the herbs were powdered and not tea cut, and so it gives a really rich flavor because the surface area of the granule is smaller, so
Mm.
you can taste it more. You got a
Mhm.
bigger surface area, you can't taste it as much. It doesn't seem like it will make that much of a difference to go from powder to tea cut. But here's what we learned: we were getting these terrible reviews on Amazon. And we were like, what is going on? Like, why are people leaving us terrible reviews? First, why? So one of the people was like, you know, it's not straining right. I'm
Mm.
like, well, why?
Mm.
Come to find out they were using the wrong filter. Okay, well, that's one thing we can fix. But why isn't it straining right with the filter?
Mhm.
Because you should be using this. Well, at the bottom of my cup, there's this sediment. And I'm like, why is there sediment?
Mm.
Oh, it's powdered herbs. Well, we can switch to tea cut herbs. We switch to tea cut. They don't need a special strainer and they don't have the sediment at the bottom of their cup. But had I not asked, had I just been like, well, they're dumb. They don't know how to brew a cup of tea, then we would have continued to have irritated customers. But when we go, oh my gosh, friend, we look at you as a friend. If my friend is upset, I want to know why my friend is upset. Hey, what's going on? Oh, it's this. Well, why is that? And then you can dig and dig and dig, and now we can switch it. So we switched to tea cut a few years or a year or so ago, and made a whole world of difference in people's experience. And
Mm.
then later on, people were like, "Oh, it's gritty." Like, well, what? What
Mm.
do you mean it's gritty? Why would you say it's gritty? Come to find out, they don't know how to brew this tea,
You are
and
right.
they did not know how to brew tea, so let's give them tea bags.
Got
Now
it.
that we've given them the tea bags, it's like, oh, this is so easy, it's so great, blah 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 blah. It's like you have to keep asking. If until you get to the real root of the problem, you have to keep asking and not assume that you know, because you just don't know. Be willing to be wrong. That's pretty much it. If you're not willing to be wrong, you probably should find something else to do.
Mm. Seems like Sip Herbals, the product and the way that you interact with customers is an extension of who you and I'm sure Kelly are as well. What your personal beliefs are, what drives you. I think that gets transferred into the whole business and transferred to your customers.
Yeah, for sure. Because we, like I said, have experienced the autoimmune side. We've experienced having to give up coffee. We know what it's like to not feel your best. We know what it's like to be worked to death. We know what it's like to not have just a few minutes to yourself
Mhm.
and not have any fun. And so we were like, let's do all of the things that we can
Mhm.
to bring that to our customer.
Nice. All right, as we come to the close of our wonderful conversation, I wish I could have gone on forever. But sure, your big rock is coming in the way, probably. So,
Oh, I always pad my big rocks too, which is great. You should try it. Whenever you do it,
nice,
just put a little pad.
nice. And I wanted to know, just as a personal level, how your experience has been working with Zena and my team as well.
It's been actually really great. You guys are really responsive, which is huge for me because as a distributed workforce, where I have people all over the place, if I say, hey, there's, like I said, did I say, hey, there's a problem, or I can't do a thing, or why is this number crazy high? And you're like, oh, it's because of this. Oh, try that. Is this right? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that is the right size.
Mhm.
Maybe we need to look at a smaller bag. But again, why makes me go, let's look at a smaller bag next time.
Yeah.
And so it's been great, very communicative, very responsive. Our numbers are looking fantastic. Our sales on Amazon have never been this high. And yes, we could say, oh, it's because of Shark Tank. But let me tell you this, I was just talking to Kelly about this yesterday. We were like, oh, okay. We could say it's because of Shark Tank, but when I went and I looked at the numbers after first airing in May of Shark Tank, they started to go back down, right? And so when we just re-aired last month, the number you saw a bump, but it didn't go crashing back down the way it did from the
Mhm.
first time. And I know that's because before we were not working with you. And so when I looked at, okay, another why, what has changed? That is the only thing that has changed. Like the only thing that changed. So scientifically, when there's only one variable, then your results are more are more believable, like they're more stable. So I'm like, okay, it has to be because of them. And Google ads have been just amazing too. So yes, it's been great.
I'm very grateful, very kind of you to trust us and work with us. And just like you, we have a distributed workforce as well. And I think it's great that we are able to work together like this.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, there's been so many amazing people, talented people that I would have never been able to work with if I was like, everybody has to be in the office. Like, like no, everybody doesn't. Everybody has a life.
Yeah,
And this is just to support life. That's all it is, not the other way around.
that's true. And finally, what's future? What's in the future for you, for Sip Herbals, personally, professionally? Yeah, what's coming up next?
We're gonna take over the world.
There you go.
um,
Right on.
as every entrepreneur, right? Like, no, we're gonna take over the world. We are going to launch new formats of SIP, which we're super excited about. We're testing right now, R&D. We
Mhm.
should be able to launch it by the end of the year.
Mhm.
And I believe that that will help us move into hospitality, high-end hotels, boutique hotels, high-end spas, country clubs, corporate offices. So that is really exciting. That will help us to grow. We're also moving into retail with our tea bags
Nice.
and growing that. We've brought on some brokers to help us grow there. And so in the next couple of years, we definitely plan on seriously taking over the coffee alternative space. It is going to be where you look at coffee and you know what Folgers is. Nobody had to tell you what Folgers was. Or
Mm.
you look at tea and you know what Tazo is. Nobody had to tell you what Tetley is. You know what that is.
Mm.
You look at the coffee alternative space, and if I said a name, you'd be like, who? But when I say sip, you're going to know, oh, okay, I know what sip is. That's what we're going to do in the next few years.
It's just magical when insanely high ambition meets personal fulfillment or a personally fulfilling life. It's just I think it's a superpower. It's counterintuitive for a lot of people. It's near impossible to achieve in a sustained manner. So it's amazing and it's pretty motivational to see that you can have it all, or you can work really hard and have it all as well.
Yeah, we've been lied to. We've been told that you have to just work and work and work and work and work and work, and then you can rest. And it's not. It's you work some, you rest some. You work some, you rest, called balance. That's what it is. And then your life is much better when you have the other pieces of your life in order. So I hope that other entrepreneurs can step back and look at their lives and go, yeah, it is kind of out of balance. Let me see if I can add that 15 minutes in my calendar for myself.
We should do that 15-minute challenge. I think that'll.
Yeah, you should totally do it. Like, do a 15-minute challenge where you just give yourself 15 minutes every day. You deserve 15 minutes with yourself. Like,
Mhm.
come on. You deserve that. You can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly do. All right. Thanks a lot, Orleatha. This has been great and very kind of you to spend time with us.
Of course, you're always welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.